What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing the NBA 1 minute of praise. I came up with this idea. Basically, if you don't know how it works, I talk about every single team in the entire league and they get 1 minute of me talking positive about them. I'm doing just the Eastern Conference in this video. If you want to see the Western Conference, leave it a like and a comment down below because hey, I'm very open to do the Western Conference as well. I'll probably be doing it anyway. And also, the Bucks and the Suns game is going on in about 4 hours from now. Who knows if the Suns could complete the comeback and win it in Game 7, or the Suns could close it out in 6. I'm looking forward to that. But if you guys enjoyed the video, leave it a like and let's hop right into it. The Detroit Pistons actually performed the perfect tank last year, and now they are just days away from drafting Cade Cunningham with the first overall pick in the draft. They have multiple steals of last year's draft. They got a traditional big man in Isaiah Stewart, who is very good for their team, and he made an all-rookie team. And then they also have another all-rookie team player in Saddiq Bey, who is arguably one of the best three-point shooters of the entire 2020 draft class. They also now have an Olympian on their team in Jeremy Grant, who took a huge jump on the offensive side of things. In OKC, he was kind of just a spot-up shooter and will get a couple flashy dunks here and there. And then in the bubble last year, I really saw Jeremy Grant starting to elevate, and I'm glad that Detroit brung him in on a nice little contract, and he's really performing well. He was an all-star caliber player in the first half of the year. Got a little bit hurt and slowed down a little bit, but Detroit, whether or not they make the playoffs next year, are going to be a lot of fun to watch. The Charlotte Hornets easily have the best announcers in the entire league. Shout out Eric Collins, Del Curry, and Ashley on the sideline, which makes your team so much more fun to watch than any other team. The team is, in my opinion, one healthy Gordon Hayward season away and a very solid big man down low away from being the next underdog team out east. Miles Bridges is easily one of my favorite role players in the league, and it seems like every game there's a new house of highlights dunk over whoever it may be, and him playing alongside of the rookie of the year LaMelo Ball, it's just a match made in heaven. Having PJ Washington to have the here and there great game is amazing. I love watching Terry Rozier and Devontae Graham take these deep threes, watching them go in. It's what basketball should be. The Hornets are a super fun young team, and I'm excited to watch them again next year. The Orlando Magic are starting off the rebuild in the perfect position, having picks 5 and 8 and either bringing in 2 very solid rookies or trading down in the draft. But you now have a future defensive player in the year in Jonathan Isaac, who had an incredibly high ceiling and still does. He's only 23 years old. Markelle Fultz is coming off a season-ending injury, but I still believe that he will take a huge jump on the offensive side of the ball. I had him as one of my most improved player candidates last season, but I think this season, coming off that injury, it's going to give him another spark just to really want to play well. I think he's been hitting the gym a lot this offseason, and I'm excited to see what he could do. I also really like what the young centers they have there. Mo Bamba and Wendell Carter Jr. have a lot of bright sides, and I think Wendell and Mo Bamba definitely can be the future centers on that Magic team. And I'm not expecting the Magic to be good this next year, but hopefully they can land a Chet Holmgren next year's draft. There's just so much good I could say about Atlanta. Trae Young was arguably the MVP of the playoffs after shocking the world, beating the Knicks in the Garden during their first playoff appearance since 2013. Then moving on, beating the 1-seeded Sixers against Joel Embiid, an all-star MVP caliber player, and then fighting hard against a Bucks team who, as I'm recording this, is about 8 hours away from potentially being finals champions. This core could not have been set any better for the future. Trae Young, John Collins, Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, Onyeka Okongwu, and so on. There's just so much talent in Atlanta, and no doubt in my mind that this team can compete at a high level once again next year. And to all the people saying it was just a lucky one-time thing, do not be surprised if Atlanta makes another big push next year. Joel Embiid himself is simply enough to talk about and praise for hours on end. The MVP caliber center showed out this season and will continue with his tenacious play for multiple years to come. Doc Rivers pairing him with a lockdown defender, Matisse Thybulle, who's only 24 years old, yet he leaves it all out on the court and he doesn't let a single player have it easy. Personally, I think Matisse Thybulle is going to be a huge part of the Sixers' future. Whether or not he stays long term or he gets traded for a potential Damian Lillard, who knows what's going to happen, but either way, they are winning that. They also have one of the steals of the draft in Tyrese Maxey, who can do pretty much everything on the offensive side of things, and I love watching him hoop out there. Philly, despite all the hate they got, will be back and better next season, and potentially with a brand new star in the city of brotherly love. Watch out to see if Ben Simmons gets traded or not. If he does, I think they're winning that trade 1000%. Believe it or not, the Milwaukee Bucks are one win away from being NBA champions. I love seeing Giannis proving Twitter nerds wrong who say that he, quote, can't carry a team in the playoffs and is a fake MVP. It's nonsense, and you just got to ignore it at this point. The Jrue Holiday trade looks better every single day, and if that brings a ring to the city, it literally means everything. It doesn't matter if you're giving up future first-round picks, because those teams aren't moments away from winning a championship, and your team is. Bucks fans, whether or not you finish this series out, or you don't and you lose in 7 potentially, you need to soak all of this in. Right now, I'm telling you, you don't want to regret it. If your team wins, I love it. I love it. Every single Bucks fan should be watching this team, going to the Deer District, buying tickets tonight. And it's crazy that the 26-year-old franchise player could potentially complete his resume, and it's amazing. Whether you really expected it or not, the Knicks surprised a lot of people making the playoffs this season, especially as a very high seed. Although they did not get the outcome they really wanted and desired in the first round, but seeing that Garden erupt on the quickly three-pointers and Julius Randle baseline J's was beautiful to watch. I think a lot of that has to do with just fans being in the arena at full capacity for the first time in so long. I'm actually very high on the Knicks and finally getting a star player this offseason, whether that's a Damian Lillard or Kawhi Leonard, or signing a couple free agents like Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, and so on. The Knicks are finally a competent team, and I think free agents are going to want to go to New York this season. The Knicks are back. I'm all for it. Let's see if they can get another magical season in them and potentially make a bit more of a run. And I know there's a lot of teams coming up in the East, but I think the Knicks are definitely going to be one of those teams now. The Chicago Bulls are in a tough spot, not making the playoffs last year, trading away what would be their 8th overall pick. But this offseason is super important for the Bulls, and they want to win right now, and I think this is the season that they're going to be looking forward to. Zach LaVine is coming off a career year, and now with Nikola Vucevic in town, he's going to be ready to play a full 82 games, and they are going to be a very, very difficult duo to stop in the upcoming Eastern Conference. Patrick Williams got a lot of criticism after being drafted with the 4th overall pick last year, but he really did look like a fundamental NBA player and would help pretty much any single NBA team that he's on, and I love the role that he's playing right now in Chicago under Billy Donovan. I also expect a big leap out of Kobe White this season. I think he can definitely step up his efficiency and score the ball a little bit more. I know you are behind Zach LaVine, so it's a bit of a tough task, but the Bulls are definitely going to be very competitive this season. 2 words, all I want to talk about for Boston this year, and that is Jaylen Brown. The now All-Star is really making people question who the best player on the Celtics roster really is. And I still think it's Jason Tatum, but that's up for another discussion. Whether or not you want to have Tatum or Brown, it's debatable. But if you compare this season's numbers to Brown, what he put up last year, you wouldn't necessarily think that Jaylen Brown took a huge jump. But if you watch Celtics games out on that court, you could tell the kid put in work in the offseason to get better. And boy, do I think Boston's going to be scared next year. It's more of a mental and watching the game comparison that you can see from this year to last year that shows that Jaylen Brown really stepped up his things on both sides of the ball. And there's a very realistic world where Brown and Tatum go back to the All-Star game together next year and make that playoff matchup very difficult for their opponent on the defensive side of things. Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. Enough said. Those 3 names right there sound like the All-Star starting lineup because it basically is. Brooklyn fans, you better love watching every single moment that these 3 guys play together, because when this team is healthy, who is stopping 3 of the best scorers in NBA history? Defense That might be it. But then you have Bruce Brown, who honestly is one of my favorite players on that team, just because of how much he really wants to win and prove to people that he doesn't have to be a good player on a super team to really have a big impact. And that's what I really like about the kid. He's not really a kid. He's kind of 24, 25 now, but he truly is a key player to any championship contending team with his hustle, quickness, and scoring. Shout out to Bruce Brown for being a very, very good NBA player. Toronto Raptors fans, please don't worry about having a down year, because if one team deserves a top 5 pick, it's the team that played 1,336 miles away from their home court in Toronto. Yes, I googled it. Shut up. Whatever happens with Kyle Lowry is kind of a win for the Raptors, because they either bring back a Raptors point guard legend, or they dump salary and can go young and try to look to contend in a couple years from now. Raptors fans have so much to look forward to in the future with Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, who I really love watching and is an extremely underrated player in the league, Fred VanVleet, who scores the ball like an all-star caliber player, and hopefully can bring the sniper himself back in Gary Trent Jr., along with a couple other pieces, and a top 5 player in this year's draft. And also, Raptors fans, don't worry about it. You literally won the Larry OB 2 years ago. Stop worrying so much. This is one of my biggest hot takes in the entire NBA, but to me, the Pacers are one coaching move away, which they did by bringing in Rick Carlisle, a healthy lineup away from being back in the playoffs. There's actually so much talent on the Pacers. You have an all-star in Domantas Sabonis, former Rookie of the Year in Malcolm Brogdon, who had a very efficient season, especially to start the year this past season. A perfect 3-and-D big man in Miles Turner. You don't get that very often. A bucket getter in Caris LeVert, and what seems to be a million of the best role players in the entire NBA. There's no doubt in my mind that the Pacers will be good next year if they run it back with the same exact squad that they had last season. I'm telling you, please give this Pacers team a shot, and they're going to remind me a lot like the Hornets. They're going to be a fun team to watch, and they're going to be the next sneaky team out east and cause problems as the NBA's next underdog team. The Cleveland Cavaliers have a lot of young talent, and to me, the answer to all their problems in Cleveland is time. Isaac Okoro is going to blossom into a great 3-and-D guard in the league, and I've already seen so many signs of the young kid's game in just the limited time he's played. Sexland has been fun to watch, and I honestly don't know whether or not I want to see it get split up or not. The 3rd pick in this draft is huge, whether they keep the pick and draft with it or package that to bring a star in with that big Kevin Love bill that they have to pay. But regardless, Cleveland needs to play like it's the first week of the season every single week of the entire season. They start off great every year, and then they just plummet and go downhill. But if they could keep up that energy that they have the first couple games of the season throughout the entire year, there's no doubt in my mind that they could be the greatest team of all time, it seems like. But for real though, I'm excited to see what this third overall pick, could bring to help the Cleveland Cavaliers. Heat fans, ignore the bubble guppies and the first round sweep crap. Just ignore it, please. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo will do their thing next year, and with the help from Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Precious Achiuwa, Victor Oladipo, and who knows who else that's been photoshopped in a Heat jersey will end up in Miami, they will help you get back to the playoffs and be a solid overall team. Eric Spoelstra is too good of a coach to miss the playoffs and lose in the first round 2 years in a row after literally just being in the finals in the bubble. Outside of the basketball stuff, also, Miami, please keep your jersey design team, because I love watching those nice pink Vice jerseys with a little light blue. It looks amazing. You're killing the game on the design side of things. But Miami, don't worry too much about this past season. You have the best free agent destination in the NBA, and you are 1000% going to get someone this offseason. And last but certainly not least, Russell Westbrook, my favorite player of all time, is going to succeed in Washington. I could see it. He had James Harden and Kevin Durant to MVP G13 in OKC to Bradley Beal. Russ has always had an amazing second option to dish the ball to and get a bucket. And I think Russell is going to be on that pass-only mode next season, and just it's gonna be so successful. I'm confident also that the quote Denny is a bust slander will end now that Scott Brooks is out of Washington and Wes Unseld Jr. is taking over. Denny, I know, is a great scorer and he has so much potential in this league. Hopefully he doesn't get too hindered by his injury that he had late in last season. I think being in a new system will help him thrive so much. And Washington, please do this for Russell. That's literally all I ask for. Alright guys, that is going to wrap up the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave it a like. If you want to see the Western Conference side of things, let me know down in the comments below. I just tried doing something different. I don't know how well this is going to do view-wise. All my mock draft videos end up doing really well, so I bet a lot of people, new people, are going to be from those videos. So stick around, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.